in an effort to provide the citizens of Lancaster with as much information as possible about the current financial challenges facing the city as it attempts to provide vital services to its residents. Varga Communications, in association with the Lancaster Schools Network, have partnered to offer the following public affairs special. Federal regulations governing the city-owned Lancaster Schools Network forbids its programming from advocating for or against any ballot issues, commercial or nonprofit enterprises. In this program, you will hear reports from Lancaster Mayor David Smith, City Council President Ken Culver, Police Chief David Bailey, and Assistant Lancaster Fire Chief David Ward. Now, Mayor Smith.
Today, we want to share with you the financial status of the City of Lancaster. As of July 1, 2011, this chart shows our best estimate of expenses and revenues at the end of 2011. Local government funds were solidified on July 1 of this year by the state of Ohio, and the state legislature is reducing our revenues by $200,000 in the second half of 2011. The bigger change is the unexpected downward turn of Lancaster income tax collections of $481,000 through June 30th. Plus the loss of an additional $250,000 of income tax projected for 2011 over the 2010 year, which has not been seen. The financial crossroads worsens in 2012, again because of the loss of state revenues and local government funds, but at a higher rate of $400,000 and a presumption of no change in income tax collections, and therefore a continuing loss of $750,000. This chart illustrates income tax history from 2008 through 2011. As the economic recession began in 2008 and continued into 2009, the City of Lancaster had a slight increase of income tax collections and a noticeable increase in 2010, giving us expectations for 2011 to continue with an increase. Even though we started January, February, and March behind last year for our income tax collections, April was close to last year, and May was actually ahead of last year, but we weren't prepared for the deficit that we saw coming at the end of June. However, at June 30th's closing, the income tax collections fell well below expectations. That is the $481,000 loss versus 2010, plus an additional $250,000 we were forecasting to be ahead of 2010, for a total of approximately $750,000. The state of Ohio solidified their budget problems by reducing local government funds by 50% over their biennial budget. This included $200,000 between now and the end of 2011, and another $400,000 in 2012, and the final reduction of $200,000 in the first half of 2013. The city has already been consolidating departments and not filling numerous vacancies. The next chart shows various general fund departments and general fund dependent departments over the last 6 or 7 years with reductions. We laid off 8 people in 2009 and another 4 in 2010. The rest of the reductions are the result of not filling vacancies and reorganizing departments to run more effectively. This chart also shows a loss of 43.5 people. Employee participation has also included wage freezes, modifications of wage scales, elimination of PERS pickup for new hires, changes to retirement benefits, and increased participation in health insurance. This chart shows the noticeable cuts we have made in operating the City of Lancaster. We reacted very quickly in 2008, and we began to feel the recession coming with immediate cuts for 2009 and additional cuts in 2010 and 2011.
The financial vortex which the mayor has described and which is illustrated in the charts has resulted in draconian cuts in recent years, but even more precisely in this current year and going into 2012, because we just simply must balance the budget. These cuts have cut across all departments in the past and will continue to. We know a great deal about how these cuts will affect city services with regard to safety. This has been well reported and will be fleshed out even further by the chiefs. It needs to be stated, though, and it's instructive to note, though, that the cuts involve not just the safety forces, but other service areas within the city as well. The auditor, for example, the city prosecutor, the municipal courts, the streets department. We have a long and distinguished record in our auditing department of having excellence in auditing. By reducing one extra person, which is essentially is a 20% reduction in that department, we run the risk of not being able to do our auditing to the high standards that we've been used to. By the same sign, within the prosecutor's office, by losing one person there, one additional person, we'll be unable to prosecute persons in a timely manner, if at all. Same sign in the municipal court area. Moreover, in the streets department, we've already seen about a 25% reduction within the streets department over the past several years, and now we're going to lose another 2. This puts additional pressure with regard to plowing the streets, with regard to salting the streets, with regard to the potholes that need to be patched, and other areas of street maintenance. All of these things are being affected by this significant budget shortfall that we're facing. And again, we all know and recognize that the major problem areas, the major challenges are going to be in the safety areas, the fire and the police. But it needs to be stated that these monetary shortfalls are going to affect city services all across the piece.
Hello. I'd like to share some thoughts and facts with you about the safety and security of our community. I think we all know that the opiate crisis in our community has caused property crime and even violent crime to increase citywide. We are seeing increases in all the major categories of criminal offenses, and these changes have touched nearly every neighborhood within our community. The Lancaster Police Department is on track to respond to over 65,000 calls for service this year. At mid-year, we were already at 34,000 calls for service. Budget reductions have actually reduced the police department from 69 sworn officers to 65 sworn officers just in the past 2 months. And there could be more losses to come. This will be our 3rd budget cycle without money for new police cars. Our police fleet is aging, in need of repair, and has safety issues. These budget reductions will also adversely affect our COPS grant, which allowed us to hire 3 new police officers totally paid for by the federal government. Unfortunately, restrictions associated with this grant require that we maintain our current level of officers and not drop below our present complement. Failure to do that could result in the budget funding being withdrawn. Without the federal COPS grant, we will be forced to disband our directed patrol unit, a special unit we created about 6 months ago to combat quality of life issues in our neighborhoods. The directed patrol unit, along with our regular patrol bureau unit, has done an excellent job in evicting and displacing drug dealers and those who would disturb the peace and quiet of our neighborhoods. If this financial decline continues, many of our vitally important special units, such as the Detective Bureau, the Major Crimes Unit, our Community Services Unit, which also presents DARE in our local schools, could be at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, a strong and stable community needs a likewise strong and stable police force. We will continue to do all we can do to seek out grants and other non-traditional sources of revenue to keep our police department strong, but these opportunities are dwindling and in many cases becoming scarce. I appreciate very much this opportunity to share this vital information with you.
In an effort to help the citizens of Lancaster understand where the Lancaster Fire Department is and the effort we have made to assist the city in balancing its general fund, I would like to detail some of the changes we have made in our organization. We have restructured our department by the elimination of 1 assistant chief, 4 lieutenants, 16 paramedics, and 3 engineers. We've also shut down an engine company in 2009 due to staffing reductions. This year, we eliminated the Fire Prevention Bureau, which was founded in 1969. These firefighters were charged with inspections, arson investigation, foster care adoption, underground storage tank, public education for both the elderly and the youth, and many other functions. On October 24th of this year, we had the unfortunate requirement of laying off 13 firefighters. We closed Engine House 3 and shut down Medic 3. All told, including the 13 layoffs, we are now down 24 positions from our high in 2008. What does this mean to the citizens of Lancaster? The elimination of an engine company will mean response times will be increased. A fire will double every 2 minutes in size. In 2008, the Lancaster Fire Department had a budget of $9,666,000. As I stand before you today, we have tentatively submitted a budget for 2012 of $7,333,000. Again, I say that's tentative, but that's a reduction of over 25% since '08 and about $2.3 million less than what we had in '08. In 2009, Local 291 took a 0% raise. They agreed to lower the minimum staffing from 22 firefighters per day to 19, which saved the city over $200,000 in overtime costs. In 2010, they agreed to increase their insurance premiums to offset the budget revenue shortfall. In 2011, they again agreed to a 0% raise, agreed to lower the minimum daily staffing from 19 to 16, created a lower wage table for new hires, and reduced benefits as well. And finally, to give you an idea of where we stand as we did 30 years ago, in 1974, our staffing was 62 firefighters. Today it's 68. We had roughly 600 fire runs and 2,500 medic runs in 1974. Today we have nearly 1,700 fire runs and over 6,300 runs on the medic. I would like to thank the citizens of Lancaster for their time and consideration.
So, during the course of this summer, it became perfectly clear to council that something had to be done. We had been going down the road literally and figuratively on a streets levy for the past year, but as the financial picture sharpened and it became clear that we had major problems, it was council's decision, and it was a unanimous decision, to put on the ballot in November a 0.25% 5-year income tax levy to fill the significant hole that has been presented earlier in this presentation. And that is what the voters will be looking at this fall. For the council to vote unanimously in light of the fact that it spent so much time on the streets issue, and in light of the fact that there are 9 diverse opinions on council, and all of them coming to the same conclusion that this must be done, this must be presented to the voters. It needs to be stated also that this is an earned income 0.25%. That means that for a person earning, for example, $10,000 a year, the pet tax would be $25, and you can do the math from there. In as much as it's earned income, retirees, people on Social Security, people who are getting income from CDs and other interest and dividend sources will not be affected by this 0.25%. And so it was the council's belief then that given all of the facts, it was imperative that that 0.25% income tax levy be put on the ballot in November.
This program was produced as a local public affairs special by Varga Communications in association with the Lancaster Schools Network.